What's up, everybody? Welcome to With All Due Respect. I'm Marcus Flowers. That's Madeline Somerville.
Hey
This is a
guys.
show. This is a show where we cut through all the noise, call out the nonsense, and we actually talk about what's happening. Not the version you get in the press releases, and definitely not the version you get from the people who think yelling is a substitute for leadership. Every week, we bring you real conversations with people who are in the fight, candidates, organizers, and folks who are just getting out there doing things. They're trying to make things happen. And then we break down the headlines because let's be honest, the news cycle right now, it's a lot. War, politics, culture, it's all colliding, and somebody's got to make sense of it all. So whether you're here to stay informed, get fired up, or just hear somebody say what you've been thinking all week, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Maddie, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Marcus?
I'm good. I was got to go to DC this past weekend and do the No Kings rally. We got some did a little light trolling of Trump. We had with HTL Pack, we had trucks out there that said No Kings,
Nice.
No Trump. It was got some pictures of that right out in front of the White House. So
I love it. I was actually in DC too. I just got back from DC yesterday. I did Leland Vittert's show on News Nation.
Nice.
And it was funny because the usually I'm paneled with either a White House reporter or a Republican. And so there's either a neutral or somebody on the opposite side. And it was two Democrats, and it was another young lady who I've worked with before, who is even louder and quicker than I am. And so we had a great time ganging up on Leland. It was a lot. I think he really liked it, actually. So it was a lot of fun.
Trust me, I know how you go for it. I love it.
And thank you. It was really fun.
I gotta see that interview. So you got to send me that link to that when you get a hold.
I will, for sure. We were talking No Kings, so
absolutely. I mean, that was pretty good turnout.
It was a million more than last time.
Was it more? Okay.
A million more, at least.
A million more. So we, they got because the last numbers I saw were like there was 8 million, and I felt like there were 11 million at the last one. So yeah, good. So we're doing it, and I thank the people for getting out there, continuing to make your voices heard.
Absolutely.
I mean, the turnout in DC, even though that's one of the places where they don't like to do the big main event, but I had to get out and do some trolling, and I also want to thank all of the people who donated to HDL to help us get those trucks out in Atlanta and DC. We really appreciate that, and stay tuned because we're going to do a lot more of that. So we're going to need your help there. So thank you to all who help support that mission.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into why we're here today. We've got a really, really exciting candidate who's coming on to speak with us today. His name is Noah Taylor, and he is running for Senate in Kansas. Noah, welcome to the show.
How goes it?
Oh man, it goes. It's did you get out and do anything for No Kings this weekend, or were you just out on the campaign trail?
I was here in Wichita and participated in a march that led into the larger protest, and then at the protest went around and was just talking with a lot of people. Very excited to see the crowd size and all the people out there expressing their concerns and their fears. It's nice to see that civic engagement.
Absolutely. And so, to kick things off, and thank you for getting out there doing that. Thank you for your service and everything else. But just tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, where you're from in Kansas, what's your day-to-day look like outside of politics before we get into that. Tell us a little bit about Noah Taylor.
Yeah. So I grew up in a town called El Dorado, Kansas. And I grew up just far enough outside that I consider myself a country boy, and far enough where if you wanted something done, you had to do it yourself. And now I'm living in a tiny town called Keachai, Kansas. I'm raising my 2 kids with my wife. I'm a former infantry grunt, and I reclassed after my active duty tour and into a counterintelligence analyst. And that was a big change, but loved the work that I did there.
Very cool.
And then I actually work with an Air Force veteran. He's an entrepreneur, and And my day to day, what I tell people is he builds these incredible businesses, and I just keep the wheels from falling off. And other than that, I'm a father, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a a basketball coach when it's needed, a soccer coach, even though I'm not that great at that one either. So
And
Well, tell us what made you want to get into running for Senate.
yeah, so I quite frankly, I feel the same squeeze that everybody else does between the rising cost of living. It seems like what's happening up in DC is just not benefiting any regular American. And I I feel as though, and if we're honest with ourselves, it's been that way for a bit.
Yeah.
And it consistently seems like those at the top, those in DC, they can run out the door when things get tough, but we can't. And after
Literally.
traveling and yeah, we're stuck. And after traveling and talking to so many Kansans, my dad really instilled in me at a young age. He never asked somebody to do a job you wouldn't do yourself. And with everything going on, with the legacy that we're potentially leaving our kids, I couldn't sit on the sideline anymore.
Right. Like yeah, I feel that, and your background sounds so similar to mine. You were in the infantry. I wasn't infantry, but I was a logistics guy in the intelligence and electronic warfare community.
There you go.
So that community, as you know, being in the intelligence and counterintelligence and counterterrorism community, it's a tight knit community, and everybody kind of knows everybody
Yeah.
there. And a lot of us, you grew up in a small town. I grew up in small towns, rural South. It's got out there and saw it and served, swore that oath, and I think people like us took it seriously. And to see people in DC, especially at the very top, taking that same oath that we took and not taking it seriously. I mean, or at least the way we took it, we know it meant life and death. And, for some of our friends, at least mine anyway, they didn't come back from Iraq and Afghanistan. And that's what made it a lot more personal for me. But I want you to tell me more about, you talked about your dad instilling that in you when you're out talking to Kansas. What kind of made this feel like the moment that you wanted to get out and run for Senate now? Because I know for me, when I ran for Congress against Marjorie Taylor Greene back in the 2021 cycle, I was a government official. I was serving, still working for DOD after I took off the uniform, still basically doing the same job. And then, moving back to the States and being in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district and seeing the dangerous kind of stuff that she was putting out there, and the misinformation, the disinformation, just the craziness.
Mm-hmm.
And then reaching out to her saying, this stuff that you're doing is dangerous. Dial it back. That's not who we are.
Yeah.
Then seeing what happened on January 6th,
Mm-hmm.
Made me resign my post as a government official on January 7th to run for Congress against you. Kind of tell us what the moment was. That's when it felt right for me. I knew I needed to serve in a different way. What was that moment for you when you just said, okay, I got to do something else. I got to serve in a different capacity.
Yeah.
I got to do this.
Well, it started as a kid. I talk about this a lot, but there was a moment. So growing up, my family didn't have a ton. And so birthdays for me was going out to El Dorado Lake because camping is free. And they're eating hot dogs over a campfire.
Water balloon fights is like $1.
Yeah, super inexpensive. But one night there was a storm coming through on my birthday, and my dad had run into town, and when he was coming back, he had brought with him a homeless man. And he was like, listen, there's a storm coming. I couldn't let him sit out there in the storm. And so the guy sat with us. He ate dinner. He ate the hot dogs with us, ate birthday cake with us, sang happy birthday to me. And then after the storm had passed, Dad put him in the truck and took him where he needed to go. And that's the type of environment I grew up in, where even if you don't have a lot, you give, because we're in this together. And that compassion and when we talk about giving the shirt off your back and servant leadership, I've heard of the book and read it. Leaders Eat Last, and
that's it.
It feels as though that we've lost that leadership in our political space. And so I've heard from Kansans. I spent a year traveling across the state and talking with folks from, left, right, and center and trying to get our leadership to care, to show up, and they wouldn't. And I got a call the day Renee Good was shot.
Mm.
And, I never thought we'd get to a place where masked individuals on the streets were gunning down Americans. And in less than 24 hours, they would be labeled domestic terrorist and slandered with no investigation.
Right.
And, that
I don't even think it was an hour later that they were being called.
No, yeah.
Yeah. And seeing that, it was just like, if this is here and I can't sit on the sidelines anymore. If this happens in Kansas, I know that our leaders wouldn't stand up for Kansas. Right. So that's kind of the day that I really, I talked with my wife that night and I was like, hey, I took an oath to serve and that oath is for life. And I think it's time to jump back in.
Marcus, where do you find these people?
I mean,
I was only my second interview that I've done, and I realized the Democratic Party is working with this, but the gentleman we had on last week, let me just say, the next time somebody tells me that the Democratic Party has an authenticity problem, and I've been somebody who's been diagnosing that as an issue, I'm going to say that's not an issue anymore because, obviously 2 is not a pattern, but from the last 2 people that I've had the pleasure of interviewing, I've seen genuine care, authenticity, the desire for leadership that comes from a place where they've either seen that as a beautiful example and wanted to be like that, or because they genuinely connected with it in some other way. And that, like, everything that you just said is so grounded and real. And it gives me hope. It makes me so happy.
Thank you.
That's my thing though. I feel like more people who served in the military should be stepping up to run for higher office, whether it's at the state and local level, whether it's just in your town, or whether it's at the federal level.
Yeah.
Because it takes that servant type of heart first.
Yeah.
You talk about servant leadership. I talk about it all the time, but I frame it more as you need to understand what it is and means to serve something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And what better place in the military to learn that?
And I mean, you understand when you go to war, when you serve, that, listen, the guy that might be next to me in the firefight might be somebody that I disagree with on 90% of the things.
Sure.
We've got a mission and we have to accomplish it. And we're not going to do that bickering amongst ourselves.
We're able to put all that aside. We're taught to compartmentalize like that and just put it aside and mission first.
Yeah.
And for me, the mission is democracy.
Yes.
Right now, anyway, that's, it wasn't like that before. The mission was, whatever it needed to be, other life or death missions, which democracy is life and death as well. But I never feared for our democracy the way I do now.
So I'm just curious, and I know this is a little bit off topic, but it reminded me when we were talking about just looking at the circumstances, looking at military and how people are in leadership now are treating things. How does it make you feel? So like, when Hegseth comes on and he gave that big address to the military, or when he does those press conferences once a week about the war, how does that make you feel?
I think it's people in DC playing games with the lives of Americans. And I became an infantryman. I had at the time, his name's Jason. He had served at that point, I think it was 18 years. I think it was 6 combat tours. He was my brother-in-law. And I told him I wanted to join the army. And he was like, listen, you might get into a position where you have to send somebody to war and you have to lead someone in war. And if you don't know what it's like to fight, you shouldn't have that opportunity. And I feel like we have people right now that are making careless decisions with American lives who have no idea what it feels like and would never step foot there themselves. And I think that's the biggest problem. Is it is easy for those in Washington and for especially people like Pete to just beat their chest while they're safe here at home.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
There's no way in hell Pete's going to go over there and be first on the ground like a leader should be.
I mean, and he was a platoon leader.
Yeah.
And before you ask your next question, Matt, I just want to say,
please, sorry, yeah,
I want to answer the same question. Noah just answered. For me, I was embarrassed.
Yeah,
I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed for the generals who had to, and the sergeant majors who had to sit there and listen to that. And I was embarrassed for Pete a little bit, but he put himself in that situation. of being, and I don't know what he was thumping his chest about and trying to prove. Maybe some general spoke down to him when he was, still
Yeah.
in the guard or something, and I don't know what his deal was and what he feels like he has to prove to these senior leaders in our military. But
Yeah.
Well,
it definitely seems like he feels like he has to prove something. But not only being embarrassed for the generals, I was embarrassed for the country
Yeah.
and
I
what
got-
our allies abroad saw when they saw that. Because
I'll
It's
say, having served with some of the most incredible people, and I had the opportunity to serve with special forces members, Navy SEALs at some point came through our area, and then even just the infantry guys in my platoon are incredibly, incredibly accomplished soldiers.
Mhm.
And they don't need to get up there and beat their chest. Their
Right.
actions speak for themselves.
Right.
And Pete doing that is very clearly he's trying to compensate for something.
Well, those guys know what it means to be a silent professional.
Right.
I mean, in the world that we come from, the intelligence community, we don't even talk about what it is that we do in that world. So, there's definitely no thumping of the chest. We don't even talk about it. People would ask, "What do you do?" And we'd be like, "Oh, stuff and things." That's basically the answer.
Yeah.
So,
And then nerds like me go, no, tell me everything. I want to know all the stuff. Well, because it matters. It
Mhm.
matters, and I think about how I wish I would have joined the military a lot, but I didn't develop this desire until relatively recently. To, I just admire the soldier mentality tremendously.
Mhm.
And so part of what I can do is honor that.
Yeah.
And I totally understand being embarrassed with somebody who doesn't honor that. I think for him, like when you were saying he is somebody who has to lead somebody into battle but doesn't know what it feels like himself.
Yeah.
I think that it seems like he and his compatriots over there are ends justified as the means kind of people, to where people are sacrifices and
Yeah.
he's just okay with that. And I think generally America is not just the people of America, but like the founders.
but
Like,
that's just the thing, though, Maddie.
yeah.
Pete was deployed.
Yeah.
He got, I think it was an IED that they hit or something. Maybe it was a mortar. Or
I know
something.
he's deployed, but I don't know what he did.
He got injured. I mean, he was a platoon leader in Afghanistan. I want to
Okay.
say. So,
He should
he had
know
a
better.
platoon.
Yeah.
Don't know exactly what his job was. I know it had something to do with it wasn't combat related, but it didn't need to be combat related
Right.
because you're in that theater.
There.
You're in, spaces can get kinetic just like that.
Yeah.
Even if you're in the rear with the gear, it can become kinetic no
Oh, yeah.
matter where you are. If you're in an active battle space, you're in an active battle space. So
Totally.
people get hurt. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how it is. So, which makes it even worse for me.
Mhm.
These alleged soldiers.
No.
And
Yeah.
this is how he behaves. So I just don't get it. I don't get it with him.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just switching gears a little bit because I am curious about other aspects too. What are your top issues that you care about the most? Like, what are the top 3 that you're like, these are the things that I'm genuinely passionate about, that I have great ideas about? What are those 3 for you?
Yeah. So I think first to the table is affordability. The cost of living is just out of control. And we see, I speak about Kansans a lot, but we see Americans struggling with grocery prices, gas prices, energy bills, housing, and then the big elephant of Medicare, and I mean medical costs. And it's just
Mhm.
like we are struggling down here to make ends meet and fight for what makes life better. And if we're honest with ourselves, it's been that way for a bit.
It's been that way for a while. You're absolutely correct.
And it's time we do something about it. And that's, there's tons of things that need to be done when it comes to cost of living, everything from rolling back these blanket tariffs to working on affordable housing and single family homes. But that's the main thing that I'm focused on heavily. And then as another thing that feeds into that, the Iran war, the fact that we're going into this war with no clear evidence, The objectives seem to change every day. Um, and there's no end in sight as we get told, hey, we're, here in Kansas, Roger Marshall told us we were 90% there in the war. But now we're asking for $200 billion and being told it's going to be weeks of boots on the ground. And that's, it's not even inconsistent. It's just a jumbled mess.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if I would have ever presented a plan or strategy like this to my leadership, good gracious, I would have been in. I would have
At this point, inconsistency would be welcome.
Yeah.
You call it a jumbled mess. I call it a clusterfuck.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
I can say that they have no idea what they're doing. And you're a vet. You're calling for an end to these forever wars that you and I found ourselves in the early 2000s to the mid teens. It was that's I want to hear about what your vision is for keeping Kansas kids safe and at home, and out of those. Even though we're two guys that raised our right hand, swore that oath,
Yeah.
but we don't want our kids going into these forever wars, especially under this administration. I have family members, young family members who are in the military now serving, and that I worry about deploying under this administration. What is your vision for keeping Kansas kids safe and out of that?
I think
Yes.
the first thing of that is just more opportunities for Kansas kids to stay here. They don't, I remember standing there when I graduated high school and realizing I have no way to pay for college and there is no path forward to me. So I've got to get all of the scholarships and scrimp and save, and the Army was a solution.
Mhm.
But I don't want that to have to be a
Right.
solution. And especially as the military is, raising their age of enlistment to 43 now, they're struggling to find people and they're going to try to make it more enticing for kids. And listen, I'm not bashing anyone that goes into the military. I think it was an incredibly benefit to my life,
Yeah.
but I don't want it to be a war just because we need a military. We need something for them to do, and this war of distraction is that it's hiding and obfuscating from the real problems. And now we're looking at objectives of opening the strait, which was open, and Iran not having nuclear weapons, which they didn't have by our own intelligence assessment. So I think we need to keep Kansas kids here, and I think that starts with cutting repealing these tariffs, focusing on the middle class tax cut, increasing housing, and reducing the cost of living so that Kansas kids and American kids can truly live that dream that we all talked about. And it just seems to get farther and farther away.
Oh yeah. I couldn't
What do
agree
you
more.
what do you feel like is the biggest threat to not just Kansas, I guess, but like each individual state and Kansas individually, besides war, right? Like what's the thing that you see as like the big picture wise? That's what I'm gonna go tackle.
Yeah, I think it's two things because I think they feed into each other. I think affordability. I think we have been so fixated on, and it comes from the 24-hour news cycle, it comes from social media, the algorithms that pit us against each other, but we're so busy being at each other's throats
Mhm.
when we're not actually fixing the problem.
Division. You feel like
Yeah.
it's division. Okay,
we
got it.
we look at things like, we know that cost of living has gone through the roof, and we know that it's been that way for a bit, and we know that after 2020 that prices of goods increased not just because of supply chain issues
Yeah.
but greed and corruption. And we can say that, but we're not fixing it, and we're not really going after it that hard because we're so busy fighting amongst ourselves about these topics while the people at the top just enrich themselves in it. So I think it's
and that leads into perfectly a topic that again I feel like we talk about in this space, but I don't talk about in any other space, which is leadership.
Mhm.
Which makes sense considering the folks who come on and talk here, which is wonderful and necessary. because leadership is not just like might makes right. It's not just showing people that you're strong. That's absurd and crazy and doesn't make people trust you. Like, we forgot that trust was a major element of leadership completely. And so I didn't mean to ask you the same question twice, but you answered it perfectly, which was like, yes, we have these problems of affordability, which includes housing and includes medical issues and includes groceries, right? It includes all that stuff. But like the more like soft, not necessarily concrete causes behind those things are that people are corrupt and enriching themselves. They're sowing division between the parties. And to me, both of those things lead to, and even though this was a separate piece, I feel like they both fall under that heading of a lack of leadership.
Yeah. And so my dad taught me when I was young, especially when I was young, rambunctious, Noah, that trust is like a beautiful wooden bridge, and it can take a master craftsman quite a long time to make it, but it just takes one idiot with a match to set it all aflame and it's gone. And that's where we're at. People don't trust the government to actually work for them because the system, if we're honest, hasn't been working for us. And that's why we need not just better leadership, but we need radical accountability and we need radical transparency. And we used to be in an age where being a politician was a job. And just like every other job, if you sucked at it, you were fired. And here in Kansas, we have somebody who literally ran out the back door of a town hall when a veteran asked him a question. And that's okay.
Right.
Like, what are we doing?
What?
It should be uncomfortable to be.
Whatever happened to accountability?
Yes. If you're like, your job is to be held accountable. And if you can't sit in a room and be uncomfortable while you're being held accountable, you don't deserve to be able to go make decisions for people.
Totally. Also, I'm so team Noah's dad. Like, no, I've already fallen. What's your dad's name?
His name's Alan Taylor.
Alan. Okay, well, we love Alan. I'm already team Alan. Alan needs to write a book of like little isms, obviously.
He is the salt of the earth man. He is incredible.
Yeah.
It sounds like your dad taught you all those core values that were reinforced in the Army before you got to the Army. So, I mean, that's one of those things. And again, that gets back for me to that servant leadership that certain people have. I mean, I know and I'm not faulting anyone who is a Republican. I don't want people to think that, but a lot of the, I'd say upper brass. I wasn't a commissioned officer. I was a non-commissioned officer, and in my ranks, most of my friends were probably Democrats, even though we didn't talk about it. But you could tell a difference with the officers who were, probably lean more conservative. If I'm being honest here. But getting back to, you talk about affordability, you talk about healthcare. These are things that are near and dear to me too. For me, I think it's criminal, and I think it's criminal that people can be ruined and bankrupted by healthcare in this country. I mean, I feel that it's one big racket with the insurance companies, and we can always find money for something else under a Republican administration. But when it comes to, making sure people don't get destroyed by their health care, all of a sudden there's not enough money for that. All of a sudden there's not enough money for Social Security, it's not a gift. We all paid into that stuff. So when you retire, that was the deal. You pay this money now, we'll give it back to you when you retire. There always seems to be money for wars. Trump was supposed to be the guy who came in and fixed the economy. Now, most of us knew that wasn't going to happen, but somehow he ran on that.
We live in a system where healthcare is such an expense to every single Kansan, and we pay so much a month for our premiums, but your doctor can prescribe you something that you need, and your insurance can just be like, no,
we're not going to do it.
And it's like, well, then why do I have you?
Right. It's stupid.
And
frustrating.
It's just like, what, what is this system? Because the doctor says, the expert says, I need this. And you're not telling me how the expert's wrong. You're just saying, I don't want to pay for it.
Right. So as a trial attorney, it is driving me up a wall that Donald Trump is coming out and being like, what's with all the insurance companies and why are they taking advantage of us? I'm like, that's your team.
Yeah.
Your team has been advocating for insurance companies
Yeah.
forever. Yes, there are Democrats who have engaged in not speaking up. They've been paid off to not speak up, but your team's the one advocating for them. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying, like, please don't pretend like you are, you're the ones that are coming up against the insurance companies, because our team has been fighting this forever.
For a long time.
A long time.
It's like, hey, welcome to the camp. Glad you arrived.
Right.
You control the DOJ, it seems. Why don't you have them look into that? Like, there's options for you, bud. And it just doesn't seem like, again, it goes back to that, because he's like, we're going to fight over it and nothing happens.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a great point, actually.
It's every time,
let's
same
jump
thing
off
with
of that.
gun legislation, common sense gun legislation, affordability. We talk about this, we have these fights, and then, nothing happens. I think that's kind of the playbook. You get that lip service, you talk about it, and then people are paid off, campaign contributions, and then they stop talking about it. And that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And the only people we all address, we see the problem, we identify the problem, we say we want to fight the problem, and then special interest money, dark money gets to the politicians. And at the end of the day, the only people that are consistently being pushed down on is us, not them. And it's like, why are we just, why are we just taking this? Why are we just being like, oh, okay, well,
which is reason number 4,753 that I think that the Democratic Party as a whole should make their message based on trust. Like, I debate Republicans every day, and my thesis to them, because I really make a division between the true believers and the non-true believers, right? Because a true believer, I will hold your hand and walk you through why I think what I think, and I will not try to mic drop on you. I'm going to take you seriously, and I'm going to try to honestly persuade you like we should in democracy. But if you are disingenuous, like a Hem Tucker Carlson kind of people, like if I know that you're doing this and you don't believe in it, like, this will be fun for me. Like, this is going to be fun.
There is a lot of
I'm going to pull out all these things that are true and
there's
watch
a lot of intellectual dishonesty out there, because guys like Tucker Carlson, and I got to say a lot of the other guys over at some of those right-wing news agencies like Fox and
news, quote unquote news.
They don't believe half of the stuff they're
They don't. But it makes me insane. And so that's why the trust aspect is so important, because we win on that.
Yeah.
Even if we've had issues with it in the past, it's nothing like theirs. And the truth is on our side.
Exactly.
As a trial attorney, and somebody who is a jury consultant, right? So I advise lawyers on how to make arguments to juries. And it's very similar to speech writing and to working with politicians, because it's a one-way conversation. Like, you're talking to jurors and they're not talking back to you. You're talking to people through a TV screen. They're not talking back to you. Yeah. So what I often tell them is, like, you just have to give them the pieces in order to be able to draw their own conclusion, but you have to respect their intelligence. And I feel like the facts are all in our favor. Like, you don't have to make anything up. You don't have to bullshit. It's just, So
people know how they feel right now.
Yes. So, like, in that same vein, what are some of the specifics that you would do in order to tackle some of those issues that you said that are like the nearest and dearest to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, say day 2, right? Get in there. The first thing that has to happen is these blanket tariffs have to be repealed. They're driving up costs across the board. And quite frankly, if you look at who is being affected the most, it's us, it's the middle class and lower. And you look at small businesses, and small businesses are being crushed by these. The
Mhm.
amount that have gone under or filed for bankruptcy in the past year is going up, and
Farmers
the
as
amount,
well.
yeah, it is decimating them.
Job loss.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Our job cool down is disgusting. And it's a
Yep.
lot of this is because of tariffs. And
Just
so,
cooling down. I think what was it, 92,000 jobs we lost in
Insane.
yeah. And Kansas, we're very proud of our agricultural sector, but farm bankruptcies are up over 40%. And it's like, if day two, the immediate thing that we can do to bring relief to the people is repeal these dumb blanket tariffs. And
Yeah.
and
The
then
judge has already said they're illegal, right?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but we don't have to listen to the Supreme Courts if we can find all of the loopholes that we want to try to use.
Right.
And our Congress isn't doing their job on that. So
Yeah.
and then from there, obviously going after, I think housing has to really be looked at. And I'm meeting with experts in the field to understand not just why single family homes are cost ineffective to build right now, but what we've done in this space, whether it's large companies purchasing up a ton of homes and then
Yeah.
raising the rent.
Private equity.
Yeah, we have to address that. The fact that the average first-time home buyer is 40 years old
Mhm.
is insane. And then I saw
Yeah.
a statistic the other day that we are, as America, our population is slowing down. And it's like, well, why would anyone want to try to start a family if it's I bought my house at 40 and now I've got a 50-year mortgage?
Right.
I'll be dead before it's paid off. Like,
It's impossible. You've created a and like, don't tell me it wasn't created that way on purpose, right? Like,
Yeah.
don't tell me that wasn't something that you thought about. It's actually really funny. So I debated somebody a couple of days ago where they were trying to tell me that Mamdani's Mamdani's new childcare policy that he's rolling out was unfair to people who don't have kids and don't work for the government, because why should I have to give money from my check to somebody else? And I was like, and she said, the anchor, she was like, people aren't having babies. That's already a problem that we're having. So why should we take money from people who don't have babies and give it to I was like, do you realize you just answered the question?
Exactly.
I was like, do you realize you just answered the entire, I was like, Miss ma'am. Like that, what? The point is that we live in a functional society, that we have to make it easy to function, right?
They're going to twist themselves in pretzels enough to make him come back to, you're right now.
Yeah.
Because you've twisted yourself in such a knot to try and disprove something. You've actually
Yes.
proved the point.
Yeah.
It's,
And then I think on the backs of that trust is not only have people lost trust with the government, the consumers have lost trust with the market. We know our grocery prices are being price gouged. We know products are being price gouged, and these CEOs just get away with it. And even when studies are done that prove it, especially after 2020, when we saw that happening, nothing happened to them.
Mhm.
And it's like, if I mess up on my taxes, or I don't do something appropriately, or don't pay enough, or rip somebody off, I'm going to go to jail.
Mhm.
Right.
They'll get a golden parachute.
Right.
Doesn't seem right.
These big corporations that pay literally zero in taxes, and then the wealthiest 1% who, are still benefiting from these Trump and Bush tax cuts.
Yeah.
Once, if you look back, Clinton somehow balanced the budget.
Mhm.
And then Bush came in and said, "Oh, we're going to cut taxes again." And all of a sudden we've got $1 trillion deficit. And,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Trump just made that a lot worse.
I think
The
there were
second
still
time
rich
around.
people under Clinton's presidency too, right? I think they
Yeah.
still existed despite
Yeah.
despite the
Money.
yeah.
And we're just, and we're spending, and people are, being distracted from that. But if we just go back to where it was before
Mhm.
Bush, and just go back with that 25%,
Yeah.
we'd start whittling away at that debt. And right now our money's going to be worth nothing. And inflation, we're headed into a recession. That's obvious. That's where we're going. The pain's only going to get worse. People, we're going to lose more jobs. Is that what you voted for? Those of you who voted for this administration, you voted to see the Epstein files. You voted for no new wars. You voted for the economy to be better.
Yeah. Got
Did
nothing.
you get any of that?
Oh, I have a fun question.
Yeah.
Tell us what you love about Kansas.
Oh,
Yes.
so I will say this, Kansas, I'm a hunter, right? I love being out in nature, sitting there and watching a sunrise. Kansas is beautiful. And it's beautiful because of just the rolling hills, and the sunrises and sunsets are amazing. But then I often talk about Kansas hospitality. I've been all over the country, and there's just something about how Kansans treat each other. Where even when we're mean, it's still like if someone cuts me off, there's always that like, oh, sorry. And it's like, well, what you did was wrong, but like, you have a good day. There's something about Kansas hospitality.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, that's who we are as a people, and sometimes I think we forget that.
Mhm.
When people are getting online and the trolling and the mean comments, and the back and forth with the liberal tears and MAGA tears and this, that, and the other. We got to remember that we can have conversations with each other.
Yeah.
We can talk about things.
Yeah,
and still be civil about it. I get that a lot of those trolls are on troll farms in other countries and state-run actors, but we got to remember who we want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
strive to be that way.
We have to remember that civil discourse is okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't agree with you on something, it's an opportunity to learn from each other.
Absolutely.
And I used to have a mentor that would always get on me. He would say, I'm never going to ding you for something you don't know, but I'm going to ding you if you don't know where to find it.
Your mentors are excellent, sir.
Yo, it was that was a guy, Sergeant Primo, amazing guy. And that's when I started taking notes for everything, because it's important that you have to be willing to say, this is new information. Let me digest it and then come up with a new position, because this changes things. And we forgot how to do that in a respectful way. And I think that's why we bicker over so many things when it's like, we agree that affordability is an issue. So let's talk about it and then fix it rather than just fight.
And that's such a classic Army thing, because I had leaders who were the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know the answer, I'm going to give you some time to find it.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Or my answer would be, I don't know right now.
Right.
Give me a moment. I'll get back to you with the answers. And that's why it baffles me sometimes when I hear people saying, I did my own research. You did your own research and you're still wrong.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to get it right, or do you want to be right?
Yes.
Which of those? Because you can't have, you can only have both if you start with one. If you start with getting it right.
Exactly. And I think they know how to find the answer that fits their kind of, I don't want to say worldview, but the narrative that they want
totally
to stick by. Because I can't believe that. Now some people are just, we're not gonna touch them. That 30% of the Republican Party that are hardcore true believers that you talked about, Maddie, we're not going to touch those guys.
Right.
But I feel like there's enough people out there who are willing to say, maybe not publicly, but willing to say, you know what, this guy kind of got us.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people when I travel across Kansas and I talk to everyone all across party affiliations. So it's like, listen, if you can agree with me that Kansas should have a better tomorrow, all right, you got a seat at my table.
You're in. Let's go.
That's it. We just got to figure out the rest together, and that starts with me pulling the chair out and saying, "Sit down. There's coffee. Let's chat."
I love it so much.
Yeah, let's kind of wrap this up with the big picture. Big picture. What does that look like for you? A better tomorrow for Kansas, a better future for Kansas, a better future for America with, your vision for, if you make it to the Senate.
Yeah.
What's your vision for a better Kansas and America as a senator? Because, as a senator, you vote for everybody, not just Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I think a better tomorrow for America is politicians that are held accountable. I think it's politicians that are transparent and open with their constituents. It's 2026. If we can have this conversation, I can have this conversation with a ton of people very easily as a
Mhm.
politician. So, but I also think it's building back the middle class, a strong middle class, that we're investing in small businesses, we're investing in economic growth in our states, and focusing on making our tax dollars actually work for us, and not spending $1.5 trillion on a war complex as we push forward. I want to make sure that people have access to affordable health care, that people can, their rent or mortgage is not through the roof and they have to choose between, what bill they're going to pay. There was a study done not too long ago that said the average Midwesterner couldn't afford, I think it's either a $400 or $600 emergency
Yeah.
expense. Yeah. That's a better tomorrow, is a better breathing room for middle America. And right now we're squeezed so tight, and we're the ones that are taking the brunt of all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we've lost the sight that being a politician shouldn't be a pathway to wealth. It shouldn't be a pathway to success and praise and fame. It's a job. And your job, whether it's hard, whether it's uncomfortable, whether it's long hours, your job's to show up. Your job's to stay there, and your job's to fight like hell for your people, for the Constitution, not a party, not a politician, and sure as hell not a person. So that's
And it says support and defend the Constitution of the United States and serve your constituency.
yeah.
Beautifully said. Very well said.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on with us today, Noah. We really appreciate your time. We know you got to
Thank
get
you
back
so
out
much.
on the campaign trail.
Thank you for having me.
Let me give you a little time to tell people where they can find you, and give them your pitch real quick, man.
Yeah.
Ask for some money.
I'm building a grassroots campaign. I'm not taking PAC money, corporate PAC money. I'm not taking special interest money. I am focusing on representing the people, because again, radical accountability and radical transparency. Because like I said, if we're honest, it's been this way for a while and we deserve better. And our founding fathers created this system so that people like me and you could step up into these positions and fight for the people. That's the only way this works. And so you can find out more about me at noahforkansas.com. It's going to take more than just Kansas people if we're in this fight. If we want to flip the Senate blue, we have to win Kansas. And right now, my opponent, Roger Marshall, is incredibly weak. And so if we can come together, if we can work as a country to put us back on track, that's where we need to be. So head on over to noahforkansas.com, sign up for more information. Please donate to my campaign. It would mean the world to me. And if you're looking at having a better tomorrow, you got a seat at my table.
Well said, brother. Well said. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
It was our pleasure to have you on. Godspeed, brother.
It was wonderful. Like I said, where you find these people, I love them.
Yeah, these are candidates that we look at running the PAC at HTL. We're always out looking for the next generation of Democratic leadership.
They're
That's
fabulous.
the kind of people that we're looking for.
Fabulous. Oh my God. Like so genuine and smart.
And that's what it doesn't. I want to be clear that we don't only look for veterans. We do look for people who understand, that it's about service.
Yeah.
Who are tired of all of the back and forth and WWE like atmosphere that's been created in Congress, and a Congress that's now under Speaker Magic Mike.
Magic Mike. I love it.
It's doing nothing. I mean, they're a do nothing Congress. They've completely abdicated their Article 1 authority. So I mean,
totally. But like I said, I don't think we have an authenticity problem with either of these guys. And I often say that people make a huge mistake when they say that swing voters make their decision based on kitchen table issues. I think that's wrong, because if you are really trying to decide between two candidates and two separate parties, then it would be easy if all you were deciding on was kitchen table issues, because their policies for dealing with those are totally different, right? It should be easy. The thing people really don't know is who they can trust. They really don't know who's going to do the right thing when nobody's watching. That's because that's all people want. Like, not everybody can be an expert in everything. And so we want somebody whose judgment we can trust and who's going to look out for us when nobody's watching. So, I think that's a really big element and something that I've seen consistently through these two interviews.
Yeah, I mean, and we've got plenty more in the future coming up. There's, we've got a lineup of some great candidates that are, I think, and I want people to get to know. And that's what this show is about, trying to help those candidates out there get some exposure who are, in my opinion, and we've met these people, in my opinion, they get what service is about.
Yeah.
And that's why I love having veterans come on and talk, because a lot of the veterans, they get it. They get it. They get what selfless service is about. That's one of those core values, to be selfless and to serve. If you spent years in the military, you get it.
I'm sure.
You get selfless service. It's not about gaining anything special or, well, it should be that way, because I see some out there who are, acting
stupid.
Except we're talking about you there, Pistol Pete.
Pistol Pete.
Yeah.
So what else do we want to talk about? We got a few more minutes. What else do you want to talk about?
Let's get into the news cycle. I mean, we already talked about No Kings at the top of the show, which that rally was good. I'm glad, we beat a record again, and people showed up. So thank you all to the people who showed up. And I saw Pam Hemphill jump into the chat. How you doing, Pam? Good seeing you again. Pam was one of those, I talk about her, talked about her once on the show. She's the one who refused Trump's pardon for January 6th.
Oh, we love her.
Yeah. I mean,
we love her. That's hero mentality, where she goes, oh, I see this thing right here and I'm going to say no. Like, oof, I love that. Thank you for that. Thank you for setting that example. Yeah. Honestly, thank you.
She walked the walk and talked the talk, and
that's right.
She learned from her mistake. She accepted accountability, and she's since done everything to learn everything she can.
Absolutely.
About, misinformation and disinformation.
Thank you for that.
And
genuinely.
I spoke at an event here in Georgia once. Pam showed up, and we had a lovely conversation. So
awesome.
Hello to our good friend Pam.
Hi, Pam.
So we got here another special election in a deep red Florida district won by Brian Nathan. So congratulations for grabbing that state Senate seat.
Nice.
I got to tell you, Maddie, this is we're like what 30-0 right now as far as Democrats winning right now, and we haven't even gotten to gotten through all the primaries yet.
Oh, Team Red is toast. They are toast, because the deal is that Trump won by winning over swing voters. Because I know we've talked about this before. Democrats targeted the 1/3 of people who don't vote instead of swing voters, because they decided that if a person was willing to vote for Trump, that they were just lost to the Democratic Party. And that was not true. And so, and now, right, all those people who Trump convinced to give him a shot, like those swing voters and those first-time voters, those Gen Z voters went, wow, I gave you a shot and you have disappointed every expectation that I had. I am no longer voting for you, / I'm voting blue if they can convince me. And so that's where we come in. Like, it's either, I feel like at this point, they're not going to vote for him. They're either going to stay home or they're going to vote blue. And it's just a matter of us tipping them in our direction.
And you're talking to my heart right now, because I'm one of those guys who's always preaching, you got to get out into these rural areas, not only in the South, but all over the country. I believe in a 50-state strategy. Any place that you write off, and the Democrats have done that in the past, traditionally just wrote off large swaths of the country. You got to pick up numbers there.
Yeah.
You got to go out and talk to people. One of the things when I was out on the campaign trail, in rural places, and I talked to Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike. I didn't just, yeah, you got the tools where you want to go talk to your primary voters or whatever. I didn't care. I talked to everybody.
Of course.
You've got to do that. And a lot of
Yes.
people were like, I'm surprised you came to my door and talked to me. You didn't see that Trump flag out there? I was like, yeah, I saw it.
No, I did.
I still wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
And that's how I pulled some of those. And
People
guys
are
like Sean
so
Harris is doing the
impressed
same
by
thing.
that. They're so impressed by that because they assume that the person who's coming up is genuine, and they're right.
Yeah. And they were like, hey, thanks for coming and having the conversation with me. Didn't get
Yeah.
all of their votes, but I got some of them.
Yeah.
I broke a record for Democratic votes in a rural district.
It's awesome.
Sean Harris came back right behind me and broke it again, but it was about building that infrastructure,
Building it. Yep.
getting that thing started, and
Taking one for the
he's
team there.
following up on it. And
Yeah.
hopefully, fingers crossed, he pulls it out in this
Yeah.
runoff, and then we can be, that'll send shockwaves through the system. That'll be great. But lesson there,
What else we got on the news?
compete everywhere.
News
Compete
spectrum there. What else we got?
What do we got? So NASA is sending another manned craft to the moon this afternoon, this early evening.
And our producer sister's there.
Exactly. Our Keith's sister is down there waiting for launch.
Rocket scientist.
Rocket scientist working in there.
Mhm.
First time since
Female
1972.
rocket scientist. Just want to throw that out there. It's pretty cool.
How, for some reason, that just doesn't click to me. This is the first time we're sending people to the moon since 1972.
I know. It's
feels like-
so difficult to process.
It feels like that's wrong, but it's actually right.
It's because we skipped doing it again, and we were like, nope, Mars.
Yeah. That's next. So that's cool. Artemis 2. Good luck on that mission, guys at NASA and our astronauts who are, taking this first trip in 53 years? Yeah.
It's awesome.
Almost 54 years. So that's a big one.
Oh yeah.
What else we got here? Bruce Springsteen kicks off his U.S. tour in Minneapolis with a defiant message. He called out the Trump administration for being corrupt, incompetent, racist, reckless, and treasonous. And that's
My man.
join him in choosing peace over war.
Bruce Springsteen
So-
is as American as apple pie and baseball. Like, please, anybody who is like, screw Bruce Springsteen, I'm Team Trump, go listen to Down to the River, and then you tell me he's not an American hero. Like,
Bruce
please
is
listen to that song twice and
a
then
national
have that
treasure.
conversation with me.
A national treasure, and I wish more. And there are those people who are great artists who are speaking out. He's not the only one, but he's one of the biggest ones. I mean,
Oh yeah, for sure. I never understand where people are like, just shut up and sing. That doesn't make sense to me because
It
it's
doesn't.
like they're a person. They're not just there to serve you. like-
they're shut up and sing, shut up and play ball, shut up and act.
Right.
Even if they're getting it wrong, which I guess we've had a case of that this week with the Nick Cannon thing too. But still,
Oh,
these are
that's
people.
right. I forgot about that.
Like you said, these are people.
They're
They're citizens
people.
of the United States. They don't have a voice. Of course they do.
Of course they do. And they have a platform because you gave it to them. So they're speaking. It's silly to me where people are like, just shut up and do whatever. It's like they're not a robot,
It'd be like us telling the average person, shut up and go to work.
Right.
Go
But
do
I
your
think that
job.
that's what people who are uncomfortable having their beliefs challenged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I know we've got the Supreme Court decision coming up. We had the argument today, and I got to listen to the second half of the argument. So I listened to General Sauer argued the case for the administration, and there was an attorney. Her name is her last name is Wong. Her first name is Cecilia Wong, and she argued it for the ACLU and the people. And so I got to
They
listen.
brought
to
the suit, right? The ACLU brought this suit, or
Yeah. So I got to listen to her argument and then Sauer's rebuttal. So I didn't hear Sauer's initial argument, but just from having talked to attorneys who work in this space, to make it clear, there's no wiggle room on this. Like,
shouldn't
the
be.
law is very clear on this. And I think that, and I've made the argument that Amy Coney Barrett in the past has given in places where she didn't want to because she knew she couldn't give in here. Like the birthright citizenship is going to be the case that this administration is obsessed with over like these 4 years, this 4-year period. I doubt there's going to be another one that's as big as this, except for maybe like the major Doge cuts. But this one goes, all the way to the beginning of our founders, because the argument was that the founders actually and the framers in the it's either 1886 or 1866 version of the Constitution versus the 14th Amendment, right? And what categories did they outline and identify for people who are born here and whether or not they get to be citizens? And basically, it's like, well, they had a specific category for Native Americans who are born on tribal land. They had a specific category for ambassadors' kids who are from somewhere else but are born here on American soil. They thought it all out. And if they wanted to not give citizenship to the Italian Americans who came here, or the Irish Americans who came here, or the Japanese Americans who came here, like they could have done that. If they wanted to, they would have outlined it, and they didn't. And that's pretty damn clear. And it seems like there's not a whole lot that opposing counsel can say. So again, I didn't hear his specific arguments. I only heard his rebuttal, but I felt like she gave an extremely strong argument. And I'm a tough critic. Like, I want to be here for Halloween this year. Like, she is total hero, handled it beautifully, because my husband argues cases in the Georgia Supreme Court. And so, you know how like when you watch sports and you're like, oh my God, that guy sucks so much. And it's like, you could never do that. You can do that if you even tried. Like that's what we're doing when we're watching Supreme Court attorneys. We're like, oh my God, that was so dumb. I can't believe you just did that. And it's like, that's a very difficult thing they're doing. And she did it at the highest level, and she handled it beautifully. So just to report on that.
Well, I mean, I did see a report that, and I take this with a grain of salt, that Justice Roberts was very skeptical of the government's argument.
He was, from what I heard, he was. And so was Gorsuch. Oh,
that's actually good news too. But these guys have been skeptical of the government's argument in the past, where it looked like they were leaning one way. And I know you're never supposed to try and figure out what a judge or a justice is thinking or how they're going to rule on something, because we've been burned by the Supreme Court.
We have. It's okay. It's okay to look at the law and to decide from an objective perspective whether or not there's wiggle room for it. Mm-hmm. And even people who are on the opposite side of this argument that I've talked to will admit that there's no wiggle room. So if there is an alternate decision, it's pretty safe to say, and I would not say this otherwise, it's pretty darn safe to say that it's a political decision.
And we've seen political decisions out of this. I'm going to call them an activist court.
Yeah.
I think that's entirely what overturning Roe was about.
Totally. And it's funny, actually, today I was listening to Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, and so I have ADHD.
Scathing dissent yesterday.
Oh yeah, like so I'm all over the place with my thoughts, but what ends up happening is I'll dig into something because I see this connection over here that seems to pertain to like what the actual issue is. And I was like, oh, I bet she's neurodivergent in some way, because she'll take an issue it doesn't seem like it's related. And so people who aren't paying attention will be like, what the hell is she talking about? But if you listen to her, she's like, no, I'm helping you see this from a different perspective so that you can actually understand it and anticipate what the issue is going to be in the future that you haven't thought about yet. That's our job.
How she was framing that. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so glad she's there. I'm so glad that somebody made that connection, because like, it would be difficult if you were just looking at it through one lens. So
I was surprised that she was the only one that dissented yesterday in that case. It was 8-1 against her, but her dissent was pretty good.
I think she's neurodivergent. I really do, because she makes connections that are there that other people don't see, but they'll miss if you don't hear her explain the connection. And
that's the other piece about it, being eloquent enough to explain that so that people can see exactly
100%. And that's what your staff attorney is for. So yeah.
Speaking of things that are winding up in the Supreme Court, this national voter list thing that Trump is trying to do. He signed an executive order to create a national list of eligible voters and restrict mail-in ballots. Okay.
I'm going to write a song. It's going to be called That's Illegal, Trump. That's
That's
illegal.
illegal, Trump.
All of it's illegal. How many different ways do we need to say?
The Constitution is clear on that as well. States run elections.
Thank you.
Full
Thank you.
stop.
Full stop. And whenever I'm debating somebody on the SAVE Act, I'm like, by the way, this is not a picture photo ID at the polls bill. That's not what this is about. And I can't even get past the part where they're requiring the states to turn in the voter rolls. I can't even get past it. Like, we could talk about the 20 million people who are going to be disenfranchised. That's fine. But I got stuck on this one issue and I can't let it go because no one's talking about it. You know?
No, I mean, people don't think about the things that, what they're trying to do. It's definitely a voter suppression law. It's not about voter ID, because guess what? People in Georgia, at least, show ID when they show up to vote. But they don't have to show a passport or a birth certificate or documents like that are, for a lot of people are hard to get. And people say, well, why is it hard to get your birth certificate? All right, well, let's think about this for older Americans, Black Americans who were born pre-civil rights, pre-1964 and 1965, who were born in segregated hospitals. They didn't get a birth certificate.
They didn't get one.
They didn't get one.
If you're a victim of abuse and you left a home that had all of your stuff in it, you don't have your birth certificate. If you were in a fire and you had to leave your home, you don't have your birth certificate. Like,
or if you're married and your last name doesn't match what's on your birth certificate, or
I had to go get a new social security card. I had to do all that stuff. And the thing is, I don't work a 9 to 5. If I did, it would be so much harder if I didn't work for myself, because I did work a 9 to 5 for 12 years, and taking off during the day, it's damn near. I remember being a little girl and asking my mom before, like, how do people like mail something if they like, how do you do something if you can't leave, like if you can't leave work? And it's like, well, you don't. And that's the entire point.
Exactly. It's about disenfranchising certain people. If you disenfranchise a bunch of older Black people who are generally reliable voters.
Oh yeah, especially women, especially women, females.
Women who vote more than men. It's about disenfranchising certain people.
Yep.
Making it easier for them. And also, by the way, they're attacking the mail, and that. An independent agency, the U.S. Postal Service.
I can't.
They're going after mail-in ballot, which attacks states like Arizona and Nevada, who basically do pretty much all of their voting by mail. Because Trump doesn't like it. Even though he just voted by mail.
What is happening?
Voted by mail.
The hypocrisy is killing me.
And he lost that. He lost that election in his own backyard in Mar-a-Lago, where a Democrat won there against the Republican that he endorsed. Poetic justice. It's poetic. It's poetic. We got a lot going on in these courts, Maddie, and that's really your wheelhouse. Everything that Trump's doing is illegal.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would tell you if it wasn't, because I'd be like, no, use that as because I tell people all the time, if you want to create a bridge, say one thing that Trump's doing that's good, right? So I'd give it to you. I'd tell you it's illegal.
I can't think of anything that he's doing good right now.
No, right now, no. And he really just ruined one of the things, because one of the things I would tell people is I think that his relationship with Japan has gone really well. I think that the business deals that he did, he actually protected workers when he did that. He gave the final decisions and shares to Americans and allowed unions to speak, which I was shocked that he did that. And then he made that awful joke the other day in the Oval Office about Pearl Harbor. And that was the one thing I would say is the relationship with Japan. If you're going to fight China and try to be number one, yes, make deals with Japan. That makes sense to me. Well, great. You just screwed all of us because you just embarrassed the prime minister and that genuinely nice reporter who just said, why wouldn't you tell us? It just, and the way he even said it was so genuine. I was like, dude, this was the one thing I gave you.
Once again, we're embarrassed on the world stage. Not that we need it anymore. Not that every other country in the world is looking at America like
They feel bad for us.
what is going on there?
Yeah.
What is going on there? Now that we're talking about the international community and geopolitics, why not talk about Iran war?
Let's do it.
These guys have no effing clue what they're doing.
And
1 minute Trump saying it's over, we've won, we're going to end it. I don't know. He's supposed to give an update on the war primetime address this evening.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Nobody knows what he's going to talk about. So, yeah.
Well, also, if anybody wants to watch before that, I'm going on this X show where they're trying to bait Candace Owens to debate me.
Ooh,
so that's going to be fun. Yeah, I'll put details on my X about it. It's just Maddie's hot take. I'll put details on that. But sorry, back to the Iran war.
Put that back out. No, that's it. It's not clear what he's going to talk about. You know, they're hinting that he's talking about putting an end to this war. He doesn't get to decide this right now. Once you go kinetic, you lose control over these things. So, and now you got the Houthis and they're fighting in Lebanon. So this thing it did exactly what I said it was going to do. It was going to escalate throughout the broader Middle East, and now you've got a runaway train here. So I can't take anything this guy says seriously right now, or this administration.
How do you come back from that? Like, what's the way out?
Well, it's not just pull out, because they're talking about sending troops and doing this and taking Karg Island. It's going to be a hot ass mess, really volatile for the foreseeable future, and that's going to affect prices here. I don't care what he says tonight, because the markets are going up and down. No one knows what's going on there based on tweets that he's putting out. They're not in control of this anymore.
No,
they jumped in it without an exit strategy, and they're going to signal that they're out of it, but I don't see how. Man, I don't see how.
It's so hard.
Especially when you've got troops deploying from the 82nd. What's he going to say? Oh, we're done? Okay. That's just, they're killing me.
I know.
they literally are.
But, the only good thing that's coming out of this is that people are seeing Trump's true colors, and that they'll maybe be able to get some leadership in that's going to change things.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what we got to do is we've got to keep showing up.
Yeah.
Voting these Trump sycophants out of office, keep beating them every time. Whether, again, that's at the state and local level, we've got to keep doing it. We've got to keep doing it. And we've got to keep pushing back, because they're going to try. I mean, they're already teeing it up to cheat in the midterms. So all these organizations, get ready, because we're going to have to fight. Like Trump said, we're going to have to fight like hell to keep our democracy, but we're going to do it the right way. We're not going to go and attack the Capitol. We're not going to go and attack the White House. We're going to do it legally.
Yeah. And if you're here listening to this right now, we're team doing it the right way. So
team doing it the right way. We got to keep it up.
Yeah.
Maddie, that was great.
Wonderful.
Great conversation.
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. That is our show for today. Big thanks to our guest for joining us and, bringing his perspective to this conversation, and to all of you out there tuning in. Thank you for staying tuned in to what we do. I mean, it takes your attention, and sometimes it takes a little bit of patience, but we're going to get there. And if you got something out of today's episode, let us know. Share it in the comments. Send us an email. We're always out there listening. That's how we grow. Share this with your friends, your groups, and we'd appreciate it. So,
thank you guys so much. Thank you. And if you guys want to follow along, it's just Maddie's Hot Take, MADDIE, Maddie's Hot Take, one take.
Definitely check out Maddie this evening. Thank you to our subscribers. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do this.
Thank you guys so much.
But next time, guys, stay informed, stay engaged, and as always, with all due respect, Godspeed.
We love y'all. Bye.